Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Hearthstone. So we have one more recording here. I've moved my chair so I may sound even further away. Let me know. I'll have to listen to this audio later. Uh, we have a decent amount of news still, and we need to play 24 warrior cards, and then we are done with this live stream slash recording session slash whatever I want to call it. One of these days I'm gonna have to figure out the right terms for everything. Everything's up in the air. Took a little bit of a break in between the stream, and I don't think that's really going to irritate anybody, because according to the statistics, only one person is watching it right now anyways, and that's very possibly me, because I'm watching the chat. So, what is today? Today is either Tuesday or Monday. Let me see. Tuesday. So, Tuesday's not a good day to stream, apparently, if I was just to guess. It's right about now when the Giant Bombcast is going on, so I could certainly understand why that would be the case. I need to listen to the Giant Bombcast and do some scheduling of videos while that happens. I've fallen behind a little bit, but not too much really. About a couple hours worth of work, and that'll be all I do. Also, I changed the name of this video. Instead of calling it Hearthstone Livestream, I just called it Hearthstone. Part of the reason why I did that is because for the past 2 times that I have live streamed, Twitter, for some insane reason, has locked my account and said your account's been locked for spamming or something like that, suspicious activity, something like that. It doesn't really explain anything otherwise, and so the only thing I could think is that my if this then that set programs were using accessing the site too many times, and that might have been it, or it just automatically blocks and locks anybody's account who tweets the phrase live stream, Hearthstone live stream. And I like, either one of those seems pretty ridiculous. So I went to the if this then that setup, and I've changed some things around so that it now that my Tumblr feed now pulls directly from my YouTube feed instead of pulling directly from the Twitter, and my Facebook feed I think pulls from my YouTube feed instead of being pulled from Twitter. So instead of being a linear path in which I post something to Facebook and then it gets put on Twitter, and then everything on Twitter gets posted to Facebook, and everything on Twitter also gets posted to Tumblr, it's now I post something on Facebook and it just separately goes to each one of those without going through one of the others. And hopefully it will be happy with that, and I don't find that when I try to log into Twitter again, it asks me to change my password again, which is ridiculous. And their password security isn't great anyways, because I changed the password to one thing, then the next day it asked me to change my password again. It says you can't have the password you had before. Fine, I'll change it to the password I had before, and it let me do that. So you can simply go through a system of changing your password twice in a row to put it back to the one you want, which is something that is a problem with forcing people to change their passwords every few months. Is it just enforces bad security policies, and a lot of times people have figured out that in their offices they can just change their password to something and then change it to something else and change it to something else, and even if the system goes back 6 passwords. They found out, well, I'll just change it to 6 different passwords and then switch it back to the one I want. And so not very helpful as far as security. But Twitter's doing it pretty awfully. On the other hand, I'm not upset if Twitter was going to start actually getting rid of some of the spammers and such on their site, because their site is quite the mess of all of that. Let's see what I want to do here. Don't want to attack twice, and I'm just gonna attack here once. Kill this. Kill this. This.
Job's done.
And in return, let's see. We already talked about PC Gamer giving a piece of hardware a 92 score, which seems weird. This new company that I've never heard of called Pallet, P-A-L-L-T-E or P-A-L-I-T, maybe I miswrote that there, has entered the SSD business with 7 new SSD ATA, serial ATA drives, which is interesting turn of events, certainly. I guess I'm just gonna do this. So, more competition in the SSD market is an interesting idea. I'd like to see SSDs low in price. Pallet, I think, makes something else that uses that same kind of memory in smaller amounts. But I don't remember what it said on the article, so I'm being very useless as a reporter of news here. My only thought there is I kind of had the impression that there wasn't enough circuitry, frankly. So I kind of don't know where they're getting their raw material and who's making this memory that they're making the SSD out of.
Already attacked.
Because I kind of felt like the entire market was already taken up, and there was a huge amount of demand, and there's just always going to be shortages of SSDs. It would be nice to find out that Pallet actually is an SSD maker who's going to increase the worldwide supply. And oh, by the way, they're based out of a stable country that isn't one of the Asias. So if there happens to be flooding like there was before, then we aren't going to see massive price hikes, I guess, on SSD prices. That would be ideally what I would like to have happen, but I'm not sure. I'll have to get more information later on, hopefully. Moving on to the next stories. We're about to run out of stories, but we may also go a little short here in the game too. Method Man is coming to Call of Duty Infinite Warfare as an announcer. Also, he is in a Ghost voice pack in Modern Warfare 2. So, Method Man is getting his voice acting out there. Yep. Which, I don't know if I've actually listened to Method Man enough, or at all, to know what his voice sounds like. To know if he's a good voice actor or not. In general, I would like to say that I don't want famous people who want voice actors being voice actors in video games, but these announced packers and voice packs are almost certainly getting sold and created 100% on the fact that it's Method Man. Total Biscuit, in a similar way, has a StarCraft 2 announcer pack that is only acceptable because it's Total Biscuit. I would say I don't think I would ever even begin to consider buying anybody else's announcer pack, and I still probably wouldn't buy his. It's inherently a selling out of himself to work for the video game industry that he criticizes, but that's up to him. And it happens too much, in my opinion, though. Moving on, Mafia 3 has gotten its first bit of DLC nearly 6 months after its launch. So Mafia 3, I mean, I think about Mafia 3 right now and I'm like, boy, that's a blast from the past. But that really was only 6 months ago and it didn't really go anywhere. And from what I heard, it was a decent game, but didn't really have anything special about it. Like, it was just kind of a similar to Grand Theft Auto 5 style game, and people are still wanting to play Grand Theft Auto 5. And frankly, I'm not sure the world even really wants to play too much more of Grand Theft Auto. So 6 months down the line, they put out DLC. That's almost the ultimate failing of DLC right there. And
hey, goons, over here!
I suppose that's exactly what we would want to have happen for all games that have DLC. Is just to have DLC fail miserably and convince people to stop making DLC and instead putting DLC in the initial game and making the initial game better. That's exactly what this game issue is Mafia 3 was not a good enough game when it came out to keep people's attention.
They fell off
and
the rock.
it didn't even have that much competition as far as I remember. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it had that much competition. And if it was coming out right now, it would certainly have a lot more competition. But yeah, I'm heavily of the opinion that, like, if they had waited 6 months to put the DLC in the main game, that would have given them 6 months to make it a better game. It would have also allowed them to look at the time right now and say, now is not a good time for us to put out Mafia 3. Let's bump it to sometime near Christmas and put another few months work in it. And of course, all of that costs money. And maybe spending that money doesn't actually get the money back. Maybe it does. It's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of impossible to know. Like, what was that one called? Getaway Kodo? Interesting. But if they had put another year, is what I'm suggesting, in the Mafia 3.
They fell off
and it came out around Christmas.
Hey, goons,
And it was really, really good. You would probably have a chance of being Game of the Year for most people. Whereas coming out now, when it did 6 months ago, which would have been kind of close to Christmas last year, it didn't work. It just didn't work.
Taste my blades.
Moving on, the new Tomb Raider actor, they're about 50-50 nowadays. Whether the female actresses want to be called actors or actresses, it's 50-50. They're going towards everybody being called an actor, which I guess, I mean, male nurses are nurses, so you still call them nurse. So I guess that would be the right thing to do. Yeah. That's one of those things where it's like I don't even know if I'm saying something offensive or not there, but yeah, I wouldn't want to call a male nurse a nurse unless I knew them well enough to joke with them. So call them all actors, I guess. Anyways, the new actor Alicia Vikander, I erased some of it. Vikondr, Alicia Vikander. She's the new actor for Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, and boy does she look different than Angelina Jolie. I have to say that immediately. She definitely looks different than Angelina Jolie. That being said, looking back at Angelina Jolie, it's not like she really looks like Lara Croft either. So neither one of them looked anything close to Lara Croft, and I'm not sure you're gonna find anybody that looks close to Lara Croft and can act. So this new Tomb Raider movie is more focused on the reboot, and the new actor is dressed like the reboot of Lara Croft. It's just, yeah, she does not strike me as a Lara Croft character at all. It's pretty drastic. She frankly looks kind of just, I don't want to say ugly, but she looks kind of skinny and wearing less makeup, or wearing makeup to make it look like she's not wearing any makeup, which would be in line with the game, is that she was in the reboot of Lara Croft. This is Lara Croft as a younger woman who is covered in blood and mud and not in good condition at all during that game. So that's in line, but there's kind of a paleness and kind of a lack of sharp features to her face. And I'm being pretty insulting here, probably, just describing her face like this, but I mean that's exactly what the casting director would have and should have done. Is that in contrast, I don't think Angelina Jolie looks anything like Lara Croft either, but her face is sharp. It's probably had some facelifts. She seemed to, in all the movies I saw her in as Lara Croft, she seemed to be in heavy makeup to make her look stunningly better looking than anybody normally would look, particularly somebody who's running around doing action sequences and all. So also Angelina Jolie had black hair and has black hair, and I'm not sure if she changed it in the movies. I don't think she did. So I would say Angelina Jolie in her Lara Croft movies was just, it was Angelina Jolie cosplaying Lara Croft, where this Alicia actor seems to be kind of doing the same. I'm not sure you're ever going to see a Lara Croft that's anywhere close to to feeling right. I think inherently that's just a problem you're going to run into in video game to live action translations. If it was a cartoon or an anime or whatever, which I think they probably have made several of those, it's easy to draw it close to the video game animation. But in the real world, I'm not sure you're ever going to find anybody that's close. Inspired, give your weapons +1 attack.
Ready your lance,
A similar thing happened.
There
There was a video that was trending on YouTube about a guy asking Japanese people how they felt about the Netflix trailer for Death Note, and of course this is in the backdrop that some people are upset that the Netflix version of Death Note is going to be set in Seattle, and that Light is going to be this white American guy instead of an Asian actor, and the other characters are going to be American Westerners too. And so I will say fully that I feel like Netflix doesn't do good trailers at all, ever, but he showed at least 8 people on the street at random the Netflix trailer, and 7 out of the 8 Japanese people in Japan said they were very interested in it and they loved it, and they were comparing it to the Japanese movie, and because there's already been a Japanese live action movie, and so Netflix is just making a Western English live action movie, and they thought it looked cool and they were very happy with it. 1 person out of 7 said they probably won't watch it because they love the manga, and that was it. Really, everybody else was super interested in it, and some of them said they would check it out. One of them said they'd watch about 20 minutes of it and then continue from there if they like it. Honestly, I think as far as the Death Note being a movie anyways, it's gonna be problematic, and it seems like the trailer's making it look like a much more action sequenced thing instead of being a psychological style story. I think they probably failed in doing something interesting by not just, they should have just continued the story or told a different story with the Death Note instead of trying to retell what has already been told. Try to tell what you think would have happened if it had fallen into the hands of a Westerner instead of Light Yagami. And so then the comparisons would have gone away if you say this is kind of like a continuation of it, which would have been much more interesting in the first place. And inherently, this is something I've been saying, is Japanese people don't care about non-Japanese actors acting in Western movies, in adaptations of their things. They just don't. Because by the time anything gets made for a Western version, any anime, any manga, anything, any even live action show or movie in Japan, by the time that gets licensed out to a Western version, they've already done it. Death Note in particular has a musical, it has a manga, it has the original manga, it has a musical, it has the anime, it has a live action movie. There's been 5 iterations of it. Doing a Western version was really the only new thing they could even do with it. So yeah, they just don't care. They won't care about Death Note being Western actors in the Western versions, because that's just how they think. It's like, of course, that's what we've always seen. Now, they will say it would be nice if Hollywood would have considered an Asian actor to play the Asian part, and in this video they said that an Asian actor tried to go for that role, and the casting director said they weren't looking for they weren't looking for Asians, basically, which is insulting and shouldn't have been done, but that's frankly exactly how it happens in Hollywood. That there is a
Job's done.
tiny amount of people that they want to actually act or play in any movie or TV in Hollywood, and when they can't get those tiny famous people to do it, they want people that look like those tiny people. And so that tiny amount of people, and because of that, the only Asians that they would really want is if they were trying to do a Jackie Chan movie and they couldn't get Jackie Chan for some reason, they might have an Asian actor there, and that's kind of it. I would still say, if you want to support some real good kung fu, Into the Badlands on AMC, watch that show. It's good. It's got good action scenes, and it stars an Asian actor who actually seems to know how to do kung fu. And I would hope more for that. Now, it's a little bit different on the Iron Fist situation, because Iron Fist in the comic books has never been Asian, and the story doesn't make any sense if he is Asian. That's just how it goes. The story is built around the concept that it is a privileged outsider Westerner that was taken to Kung Lao, this imaginary Asian country, and trained in martial arts, and became, because he was an outsider, the best martial artist and the immortal Iron Fist possible. It's because of his outsider story that works. You change the core of the character there. Unlike, say, when they introduced Miles as Spider-Man, where from a different universe who happened to be African American, there's nothing really special about Peter Parker being white. Any random person could have been bit by a spider, and that's why there's a Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman too. It's like, and frankly, in the Spider-Man series has made everybody a Spider-Man thing. Moving on.
Not on my
Since we're already going into the political scene anyways, Eurogamer has said, quote, Mass Effect Andromeda was another failure for trans representation. And what this basically comes down to is they are upset about one badly written line of dialogue that that one character says. So in Mass Effect Andromeda, a bunch of the characters, everybody has moved from one galaxy to the other, and one of the characters moved because they didn't want anybody to know that they used to be male and they transitioned to female. And in the line of dialogue, this character is so badly written that she says, I didn't want anybody to know my other name, my old name, which they call the dead name of the male character. and then she immediately tells the main character what her real name is, and thus, and so she could have easily just kept it a secret and not told anybody, and that's the whole line. So the line of dialogue is badly written, but here's a news flash for you. All the lines of dialogue are pretty badly written in Mass Effect Andromeda, from what I can tell. The game is a mess. They didn't really care about anything. They didn't do a good job with much of anything. It's not just the animations, it's glitches, it's crashing, it's like animation things too. It's writing, it's storytelling. It's all bad. So the fact that the line of dialogue is bad is right in line with that game. And frankly, what this really boils down to is your gamer is saying we're not going to be happy unless you make a perfect character who is trans every time. So if a character is trans, they must be perfect. They must not be less than perfect level of intelligence. They must speak perfectly always. We can only represent people by showing that they're good people, that they're perfect people, and anything less is an insult. And I mean, it's like, come on, you can't do it. You can't put people on the pedestal. Like, Martin Luther King didn't say that he wanted, in his I Have a Dream speech, I'm not going to quote it, but he didn't say he wanted the black man to always be represented perfectly and never shown to be human and capable of making mistakes, because that would be ridiculous. And it's not. He wanted people. He said he wanted all men to be treated equally. And I don't think he said and women, but he probably meant that too. He was just using men as a general phrase. And that's not what they want. By the way, your gamer also pointed out that they are mad at Zelda and Horizon Zero Dawn for similar things. And frankly, this is just clickbait. It's just virtual signaling. It's just being SJWs to get people to watch it. And I think they believe it, and I think there's a lot of just hyper liberal thinking in the video game industries, and it's getting crazy, particularly in the video game industry. It's getting crazy. But and it needs to be put down.
You asked for it.
And it doesn't need to be put down by having hyper conservative video game critics out there too, but it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt if there was some balance there, but I would like to just have everybody be moderates and just talk about the video games. The story has nothing to do with anything in video games. If you want a trans representation, you're gonna first have to make the argument that they should be represented at all, considering there's the population in the United States that are trans is about 3%. So out of every 100 people in Mass Effect, 3 should be trans, if that statistic's right. And they should be treated as just average people, in my opinion, not special, not put up on a pedestal. But there's better places for this too. And inherently, the trans issue is just become the next issue on the list of people who are always going to have issues. And they're never going to stop. It's going to be people with Asperger's syndrome need to always be shown as perfect beings, and people with Alzheimer's need to never be shown that they're forgetful, and people that have physical disabilities need to be shown that they're totally capable of winning the Olympics. Where does it stop? I mean, we're already past what is reality. You're already saying you want them represented better than they actually are capable of representing themselves. In my opinion, at least. Finally, we have this Planescape Torment Edition has been confirmed. So I don't know that game, but I wrote it down as one last thing to talk about, so I'll talk about it. That's kind of a not news segment though, honestly, because frankly, a game or a new edition of a game being confirmed is not news, and it's not something that I really want to report. Interesting here. We've gone just about 5 minutes over, but we've gotten all the quests done. I've done all the news. We'll come back in 3 days, and hopefully I'll be able to do the Tavern Brawl. If the Tavern Brawl looks like it's leaving, I will probably play it either off screen or maybe make a special live stream. I don't know. I might as well just live stream everything while I am doing this. That's going to be it for this live stream. We're over 9,000, so our power level is over 9,000. So if I could get just another 1,000 before the expansion came out, that would be nice, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. I've only got like 2 days, maybe 4 days, and I'm not going to get another 1,000 gold in 2 or 4 days. But maybe by the time we get the next expansion, I will be up to back up to 10,000 or close to 10,000. That would be my goal. Anywho, that's it for this recording session, live stream and recording, and all of them are done. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.